The Joe Cortez Show.
Hello, welcome to the Joe Cortez Show here in Las Vegas, Nevada, the entertainment and the sports capital of the world and everything else. We got finest restaurant and we got finest people in the world that come into Las Vegas. We have our guest today. First of all, my co-host here, Shelly Stevens.
Hi guys, nice to see you again.
We have a guest today, Nancy Frago. Nancy Frago is a speaker. Nancy Frago. And let's go to Nancy right there. You go, Nancy Frago. Okay. And Nancy's been to so many things in life. And you know, I met you the other day. Well, actually, last month, we do a speaking engagement with Arturo Castro and his wife Gloria. And here we are at the studio today. You had me on your show this past Tuesday, Nancy Riot.
Yes.
And everybody can find out on YouTube.
I'm on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Spotify. So yeah, I'm on all the streaming platforms. Nancy's Riot.
Nancy's Riot.
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, today we're gonna have a riot today because we were talking about so many things.
So much fun.
And we're gonna. Nancy is an individual that has so much to talk about. She's a speaker, and she's done so many things in life, and she has stories that you won't believe. I mean, we're gonna write a book about you, and it would probably be a #1 seller because what you've gone through in life and what you're doing these days is unheard of. And tell us a little bit, Nancy, about your life, how you started everything.
Yes. So I was born in Guatemala. I came to the United States at 6, and I grew up in Thousand Oaks, California. I became pregnant at 15, gave birth at 16. And by age 19, I was a military wife with a newborn and an almost 4-year-old. By age 22, I lost my first child, and he was deployed at the time, we were Army, and I had to deliver the news over the phone. And I went into a really bad depression after that happened.
Sure.
It was about 6 months. I didn't want to talk to anybody. It was really, really tough. Yeah. And that actually hasn't been until recently that I'm able to speak about that part of my life without breaking down and crying, if I'm going to be completely honest. I've been in a lot of therapy since brain surgery, and we'll get into that here shortly. Yeah. But what brought us to Las Vegas was the military. So we moved here in 2000, and we had another baby because we thought maybe if we have another baby, it'll make up for the one that we lost. But we were still in our 20s, 25, 26. And of course, that did not happen. We had Sophia, which is our youngest, and we separated actually. We already knew it wasn't going to work out, but we decided to stay together until I gave birth. And something that I actually don't speak about that I'm actually going to just remembered right now that I'll share with you is they found cancer cells while I was pregnant.
Oh, wow.
So I believe about a month later after that, they removed the areas where they had found the cancer cells. And him and I officially divorced in 2004. So I was 29 years old with 3 little kids. It was like I was already a single mom while he was in the military because he was always gone. He was artillery and they were always training. And I just remember when I got pregnant, being a Hispanic and knowing that I was a statistic, to be a failure and a part of the system, if you will. You know, I remember promising myself then, it actually didn't hit me that I was a mom until she was about 6 months old. It was the first time my mom left me with her, and I had never just had her because I was still in high school, so I would go to school during the day, and then when I would come home at night, I was a mom. Nice. And I was 16. So it was, I took on responsibility before I knew what responsibility was. And I remember when I was holding her and I was feeding her with her bottle, I had never looked at her. We had never connected eyes. And you know when babies push the bottle out when you're feeding them? Well, she was doing that. But I wouldn't look at her. And then finally I looked down at her and she smiled at me and all I saw was gums. And I started to cry. And that's when it hit me, like, this is my child and I'm a mom. And how am I going to raise this child at such a young age and make sure that I'm successful and that she's successful, because I didn't want to be a statistic. So in that moment, I promised her I was going to work my ass off to make sure that I was successful, to make sure she was successful. And I was not an easy mom, especially being an Army wife. You know, we had to be very disciplined, and they were moving us every 6 to 9 months at the beginning. I think our longest duty station was Colorado Springs, and that was 3 years. And when he deployed, I was pregnant. A month later, I went into labor early. We were about to find out the sex of the baby, and the baby did not make it. And they asked me in the hospital if I wanted to know what it was, and I said, no, I don't. And I had to give him the news over the phone. And at that moment, I told him, you know, if you'd like to stay in, you can stay in, but I'm done doing the sacrifice any longer, because we weren't treated very well by the United States Army. They did not want to bring him home. The American Red Cross in that moment stepped in, and because they said it was too expensive to bring him home. So they said, if you let him go home, we will pay for it, because you're not going to have a good soldier on your hands if you don't let him go grieve with his wife and the kids.
Right.
So they brought him home, and in 1999, that's when I promised myself if I ever had the chance to give back, it would be to the American Red Cross. And fast forward to 2008, I was having a meeting. So my background is in telecommunications, and I was having a meeting with the staff and the CEO of the Red Cross. And once we were done, they were changing their phone system, and I was part of the team of designing it.
Now, you were where? That was it. What part of the country were you in?
Already here in Las Vegas.
Okay.
Here in Las Vegas, yeah. And I let him know my story, and I said I'd like to give back and volunteer to the Red Cross. And he said, send me your resume. I did. The next day I get a phone call, and he said, how does the board of directors sound? And I was not expecting that. And I said, well, I wasn't thinking that high level. What's the commitment? He told me, and he said, your nomination does have to pass unanimously to the board. So if it does, then, you know, you can serve. And it did. And I ended up serving 3 3-year terms for the Red Cross. And I am also the founder of the Tiffany Circle, which is the Society of Women Leaders here in Nevada. So I'm the founder of the chapter here. And my name was engraved in the American Red Cross headquarters across from the White House in 2012.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
2012, huh?
2012, yes.
And you had the 3 kids, and now the kids are all grown up now, right?
Yeah, at that time my daughter was already in college. And in 2012, I remember thinking I wasn't happy with my career anymore. I didn't have much of a life. So for Verizon Wireless, I managed the federal government contracts. So my clients were like the Secret Service, FBI, U.S. Marshals, and I would do their security implementations. They were doing wiretappings and whatnot, surveillance.
So you have a hell of a brain to be doing all that.
Yeah, and whatever they do, it's like in the middle of the night, you know. So I would have to make myself available, no matter what time of the day it was. Right. And even if I left the country, they would hand me a phone, because if they needed a question answered, because there was only 2 of us that had clearance to touch their phone records because of the sensitivity of the things that we dealt with. And in 2012, I decided my daughter had gone off to college. And at that point I said, I don't need to make this much money, you know, and I wanted to do something else. So I took about a year off, and then I thought, well, maybe I'll do real estate. So I was studying to get my real estate license. And then I got hired by a hotel chain. Didn't think I would do well at what I was doing, but I've been with the company now 13 years, and I've done very well.
So you do sales? Sales,
yeah. And then I also, one of the things when I got hired, I'd let them know I served on boards already, and I've been giving back to the community. And I said, these are my commitments outside of the company. So if you can work around this schedule, I'll take the position. If not, thank you, but no thank you. And they said, no, you know, we'll work with you. And at the time I was serving, I think, on 5 boards. So I've always been very active in the community. And I was also I served as a first responder the night of the shooting on the Strip, October 1st.
58 individuals were shot. 58 got killed.
Yeah, there was over 500.
Right.
And
It was a concert on the Strip.
Yeah, and there were 700 Hispanics working that night.
Is that right? Wow.
Yeah, and I remember sitting in some of the therapy sessions, translating their story to the therapist, and from the therapist to them in Spanish. And there were so many stories that I heard that are still, when I had brain surgery, I was hoping I would lose some of those memories.
That's another topic.
Yeah.
Your brain
No,
surgery. Finish up with it, then we'll go to your brain surgery.
Yeah, so that period of my 2017, it's kind of a blur, because for a few months I was just so, everything was just trying to help the people that were injured and get their things back, and just trying to guide them on how to move forward with what had just occurred, and just all the stories that I heard that stuck with me and are still stuck with me.
Right.
So what really happened to make you have the brain surgery? Was there something going on with you? Did you have like pain or something and went to the doctor? How did you know you needed brain surgery?
So when we were stationed in Colorado Springs, I was hit by a semi on the freeway, and I started getting migraines, and that was, I believe, 1997. And so then 2013, it was March 1st, 2013, I was sitting at a red light. I had just gotten my license to become to be a Zumba instructor. So I was going to go audition at a gym to teach whenever I had time, because I love to dance, and Zumba is just such a fun and energetic, it makes me happy. You know, music makes me happy. And so I wanted to just give back in a different form. And I have friends who were already teaching, and we would do Zumbathons to raise money, and I still do, for different charities that are important to me, along with my other Zumba instructor friends. So anyhow, at that moment, about a month later, so I had gone to my neurologist, and I let him know my migraines changed. Something's changed. And he said, no, it's probably nothing. You just pulled a muscle. That's when I learned that you have to be such an advocate for yourself, because a lot of the time doctors think it's just in your head, or it's just this or that. And I said, no, I need you to please put an order in for an MRI. And sure enough, that's when they found the left hip fracture, my L4 bulging disc, and they found a cavernous malformation.
This all stemmed from the accident?
The disc and the hip fracture, yes. The cavernous malformation, blunt force trauma.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and actually I'd have to take you back to another period before that. That kind of plays into 2013, but that would probably be another episode. Because that part I was engaged to somebody, and he actually put his hands on me.
Oh.
Yeah, and that was...
Where is he now?
He's here.
He's here?
He's here.
Get him.
Yeah, he's here. And so the neurosurgeon at the time that saw me, he said, that's blunt force trauma. He said, so that would have played a role, the car accident. He said, there's a multitude of things, but it looks like you're going to need brain surgery someday. So they started watching me. They let me know that when I got into my 40s, mid 40s, is probably when I would know if I would need brain surgery or not, or how it would affect me. And sure enough, a month after COVID, I woke up with a migraine that was different than any other migraine I'd ever had.
I want to ask you a question. You said you were abused by a boyfriend or a husband?
He was so after I got divorced, I started dating somebody, and we were together for 8 years. We got engaged. He was actually 28 years my senior.
So he abused you, he hit you, physically hit you.
I ended the engagement. I let him know I wasn't going to marry him, and that day is when he put his hands on me.
Okay. Was you reported to the police?
I did not, because I'd never been in that situation. I'd been with him for 8 years, and I let him know I wasn't going to marry him, but I still wanted to be with him. That angered him. And had somebody told me he's going to put his hands on you someday, or put your hands in the fire, I would have put my hands in the fire, because he treated me so well for 8 years that you don't stop loving somebody overnight. And I just didn't know how to handle those emotions. I was still in my early 30s or mid 30s. And I was raising still my 3 kids. I just wanted it to go away. And that is something that I do regret, that I did not file charges, because he could have killed me that night.
You know, if you were out there watching, listening to Nancy, what she's going through, you individuals out there going through all this, you got to report this to the police. You can't let these individuals get by beating on one another. It's uncalled for. So if you guys out there watching, you're going through what she's gone through, report it. You know, get something done about it. Report it to the police, because I don't tolerate that at all.
And that is one regret that I have, that I did not call the police, because he picked me up by the neck and he slammed me we were in the backyard, and he slammed me to the pavement. And I thought he cracked my skull.
Oh my God.
And I just remember seeing the stars, and every intimate detail I'd ever shared with him about my life, he was in my face, throwing it back in my face. And I remember limping back inside. I said, I'm calling the police. And he'd taken my keys, all my cell phones, so I couldn't leave. So I just remember sitting there while he was screaming at me, and he wouldn't let me leave. And oh gosh, that is such a long story to go into.
I totally understand. It's giving me flashbacks of my first husband, and he used to physically abuse me as well. And he was very jealous of the fact that I was a flight attendant and I used to travel a lot. He was a doctor, actually. And, you know, he tried to make me bring back cocaine from Brazil, because he knew my father was from Brazil. I flew to Brazil a lot. And I was told, no, you must be crazy. I'm not going to do that for you. I'm not going to jail, and I love my job. No. So he hit me. And that was like the first time he hit me, you know, and I'm like, really? And then I went on my trip. I came back home. I didn't bring any drugs back, and he got mad. So he really took it out on me.
Wow.
And I called the cops. The cops came over. And they talked to us, and they said, so what do you do? I said, I'm a flight attendant, you know. And he asked my husband, what do you do? He's like, I'm a doctor. And they were like, oh, you guys will be okay. Go back in the house and make up with me. And they left. And I was like, seriously? So, of course, he beat me again after they left.
Yeah.
They were calling the cops, and that was so traumatic. So I feel you, girl. I know exactly what you went through.
He was 28 years he is 28 years my senior. So I actually met him at Sprint, when I worked at Sprint. And that he was supposed to be my mentor when I was going to college, because I was trying to finish my education. And that's how I met him. And so he was a lot older than me. And so when I ended the engagement, that's the night that he put his hands on me. And I just remember the next day, when he finally turned off the alarm, because he wanted the engagement ring back. And when he finally calmed down, I said, why don't we just go to bed and we'll discuss this in the morning. Next morning I woke up, and he actually barged into the room trying to take the engagement ring off my hand. And I said, didn't you just, you know, you already hurt me enough. Because I was bruised all over. And I actually still have I had his handprints on my arm, and there's still a mark on my arm where he burst a vessel. So it's always a constant reminder. Yeah, and he remarried, and I won't say her name because she's well known here too.
Okay.
Yeah, and so that happened, and it really took an emotional toll on me. I eventually let it go, or put it in the back of my head, I guess you could say, and I moved on with my life. And then I started dating, but I never got serious with anybody because I was still raising my kids. And one rule that I did have is I didn't want to bring anybody around my kids, because I never wanted them to go through abuse while I was raising them, nor to think that it was okay, especially for my daughters and my son, for me to see, you know, because I see so many single moms and dads bringing different people that they date around their children. And that's just something that I didn't want to do around my kids. I wanted to protect them. And when my daughter, she was already off to college in 2012. She graduated in 2014. My son was going off to college at that point. I gave up my telecom career, and then I started the career that I'm in now. And then in the Red Cross it opened up a lot of doors for me. And then from the Red Cross, I started serving on other boards, and I was appointed to a couple of city boards for the city of Henderson. And so I've done so much.
Okay, so now you came down. You started with you said you had brain surgery.
Yes.
You told us how did that start? You started feeling some pain, headache, and then what happened after that?
Yeah, it was around 2 a.m, and the pain was excruciating, worse than child labor. And I honestly thought the pain was going to kill me. And I asked God, please take me because I don't think I can handle this. And my blood pressure, I just remember the top number was at 218. I was doing everything I possibly
218?
218. I don't remember the bottom number, but I knew I was in trouble.
Yeah.
That's stroke level right there.
Yeah.
So I was keeping myself calm, putting ice packs, water in my head because my head felt like it was on fire.
Oh.
Yeah, and then I called my doctor, one of my doctors, at 7 a.m. She said, come on in to the office. She kept me in her office all day long trying to normalize my blood pressure. So they started playing with medications, and I was in and out of the hospital a lot because I was vomiting so much and I wasn't retaining food. And it was like that from about April, up until I had brain surgery, which was May 21st of 2021. And somebody that I had dated a few years prior had came back into my life that summer. I let him know that I had brain surgery on the table and that the odds were not good. I said, so I don't know that you want to go down this emotional journey with me. He said, no, I get a second chance with you. We got married less than 90 days later on my birthday, December the 9th, 2020. Exactly a week after that, his true colors came out. We were just talking, joking, and he said, if you don't change your eating habits to vegan, I'm going to divorce you. Well, I'm laughing because he's not vegan, so I thought he was joking. And I said, but you're not vegan, so how do you expect me to be vegan? And he said, I'm not effing around. And I just remember thinking to myself, what the hell did I get myself into, and how the hell am I going to get myself out of this? Because I was already fighting for my life.
Right.
So I had to make myself so small and silence myself and just take the verbal, emotional, and mental abuse because I was fighting for my life. And he did not go with me to register for my surgery. So he did not know that I had to, in that process, I had to prepare in case I didn't make the surgery. I also had to prepare if I did make the surgery, because one of the major things that was at stake aside from my life was my eyesight, because the part of the brain that he removed controls your eyes. And
So they remove a part of your brain?
yes,
And then what happened after the surgery? He told you what?
well, my neurosurgeon said, when I wake you up, if you're unable to see, you are blind for the rest of your life. There's no reversing that. You will be losing your vision. The further away from surgery you lose it, the better it will come back. I just can't tell you how good or how much of it. And I did end up losing it about 6 weeks later.
Wow.
Yeah, and
You're completely blind?
yeah, I couldn't see.
Oh my goodness.
One at all. One moment I could see, the other moment I couldn't see. And I remember there was times when I would ask him if he could bring me food, and he would leave me sitting in the room hungry, and I'd ask him and he would just ignore me. So I remember crawling sometimes to the kitchen to just get crackers and things like that, just because again I didn't have the energy.
How do you deal with that, being blind? I mean, overnight you're blind. How do you deal with that?
You just do.
Deal with it.
You just do.
I mean, if you were a fighter, you would definitely be undisputed champion. Because, I mean,
She's
Thank you.
amazing.
you're unbelievable.
Yeah, you just, when you're in that moment, you have to have a will for your life. You have to stay so mentally strong. And I had made myself a promise before brain surgery that if God spared my life, I was going to change the way I was moving in life, because I knew I would have to. I wasn't going to wake up the same person. And I just remember the first thing was seeing my neurosurgeon. The first thing he asked was, "Can you see me?" And I said, "I could see you." And things were kind of a blur because I was so heavily medicated for the first 3 months. I mean, my nightstand looked like a pharmacy. I had so much medications because, to control the swelling, brain swelling, make sure I had stroke medication, blood pressure medication.
Yeah.
And it was a challenge. And then I had him constantly fighting with me. A month after brain surgery, he landed me in the hospital because he'd been fighting with me so much. My blood pressure went up. I went to the hospital, and my neurosurgeon knew something was off.
Mm-hmm.
He said, and they did an MRI, and he said, Nancy, everything is fine as far as the surgery, and I just saw you 24 hours, and your blood pressure, everything was fine. So, and I remember him looking at him, you know, if somebody's fighting with her pressure, stress, those things can kill her right now because she's in a delicate position.
Mm-hmm.
And he had told me before we went to the ER, you better not tell him that we've been fighting. So I stayed quiet, and my doctor asked me, do you want to stay the night so you can get some rest? And I remember telling him, yes, I do, please, because I just needed sleep.
Of course.
Yeah. And it just became more abusive. And finally, when he threw a vase my way and it almost hit me, I knew I was next. So I started already putting my exit plan to leave him. And I left him 4 months after brain surgery. And at that moment, it really made me look at myself. As bad as that sounds, I have no regrets going through that, because it really made me look at me and ask, what is it about me that would have made me select somebody like him? Because I'd never met or been around somebody that evil.
You know, you're a person, talking to you and knowing you already a couple of weeks, the kind of person you are, you're an unbelievable young lady. You know, you're beautiful, you got a good heart, you got beautiful children. And what you're telling us, our viewers out there watching, you know, I want your viewers listen to her carefully, every word she's saying, because it could, she can change your life by what she's telling you today. We learn from listening to individuals like this. Talk what you've gone through is something that a lot of women go through, a lot of males go through that too. It works both ways, you know. But especially women, I would say 80% is women who are getting abused the way you have, and we got to put a stop to that.
We do, and you know, he is the catalyst of what I realized. So I enrolled in therapy because I needed to put logic to my emotions, because nobody had ever treated me that terribly. And so I enrolled in therapy, and I realized how much shame I was carrying. And I think that a lot of people carry so much shame, and I know that for me, it was so hard to tell people, because I'd just gotten remarried, that my marriage was a failure, and I had brain surgery, and I do all these public things, and people see me just as strength, a pillar of strength.
Right.
But yet I was so weak in that moment. So it really made me look at myself, and therapy really changed my life.
That's good. That's good. So do you have a current partner now that you're with?
No, you know what? This is actually the longest I've been single.
Yeah.
And the peace of mind that I now have, and I've never had such loud silence. That it is such a beautiful sound.
Oh my goodness.
That it is going to take somebody so spectacular.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what happened to me. I found somebody very spectacular, came into my life right after all the drama, and he was an entertainer, and I had done Broadway musicals for years before I did the flight attendant thing with Pan Am. And then when we met, at first we were just friends, and I came up and sang a song with him once at a place he was performing. And since then, someone asked us, yo, you guys are a duo, I want to hire you. And that's how we got started singing together. Then eventually we got married. And now my life is like so much different from when it was before. You know,
Wow.
my husband that I have now. So one of these nights you have to come out and see us perform.
Yes, I'd love that.
All the time, every week he's there.
They perform at Lolo's restaurant here in Summerlin, Las Vegas, Nevada, and they're there 5 nights a week.
Yes.
Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah, Monday and Tuesday they're closed, right?
And the rest of the week they perform
Wednesday
every
through
night.
Sundays, we're
you want
there.
to see a good show, go to Lola's. You want to dance, you want to sing, be happy. You feel like family there.
It is. It
Yeah.
is.
And we're going to get you back on the show again, Nancy, to talk more about your life, because you have an
so
amazing
much.
story. We can talk for days.
I
I'm
know.
Sure.
I love it.
Now, you viewers out there, I hope that you guys really enjoy watching the show, because not every day we get individuals like Nancy to talk her personal life like she has and share her knowledge. knowledge and wisdom into where she is today compared to where she was 5-6 years ago. We want to thank you so much for being on the show today. Nancy, thank you so much.
Thank you, Joe, for having me. And Shelly, it was such a pleasure meeting you.
Such a pleasure, yes.
And like I tell all my viewers out there, Nancy, keep your guards open all the time. Protect yourself all the time. Okay, guys, we'll see you next week. I'm fair, but I'm firm. Take care. God bless.
Live from Las Vegas, the entertainment capital of the world, it's the Joe Cortez Show.